Building an emergency fund for your small business, a simple step-by-step. Every entrepreneur or business owner knows that a rainy day comes sooner or later. Many things can cripple a small business financially, from internal issues like lethargic sales and cost overruns, to external factors such as an economic recession or a downturn in the company's core business or sector. To counter the detrimental effects of unexpected operational vicissitudes, learn how to create an emergency fund for your small business. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How are you doing today? I'm doing fantastic, marvelous, terrific. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or drum roll vodka. Today, I want to talk to you about building an emergency fund for your small business. I'm giving you a simple A to Z. Number one, talk to your team. You want to talk to your team. You want to motivate people around the main objective. The objective here is to create an emergency fund, the need for savings. You want to reward milestones and good behavior. So anytime your company is able to reach a certain milestone, let's say you want to fund the account, the emergency fund, you want to fund it up to 100,000. And anytime you reach 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, or whatever milestone is important to you, you want to celebrate it. And you want to reward, most importantly, good behavior. Employees who are just plain ball, who are very comfortable, who are doing what they're supposed to do, you want to reward them. Number two, introduce a savings competition at work. It's very important to instill it in your personnel, the mindset of savings. For you to build the emergency fund, you want to basically make sure everybody understands the causes, the reasons, what's really at stake here. It's not just it's not a, I would say, an idealistic project. This is a survival mechanism. It is a survival approach. It's a survival paradigm. So you can have this as a monthly competition or a quarterly competition. You know, like sometimes you go to companies and they have they reward every quarter, every month, the employee of the month or the employee of the quarter. You could do the same thing too, right? Nobody is preventing you from doing it. If you're a small business owner, all you have to do is establish a competition where the biggest savers are rewarded. You want to keep the funds separate. That's number three. So the emergency fund should typically be separate. In other words, you don't want to lump this into a normal business account because the urge to spend it can be all too tempting, right? So you want to keep the emergency fund separate from other business account. And this can be done very easily by asking your bank. That way you can keep tabs on exactly how much you've got saved in emergency funds. And therefore, that will allow you to not spend it. You want to have a clear idea of how much you have in that account. This is your kind of insurance if you think about it. Another thing you want to do is to consider the fund as a mandatory, non-negotiable expense. In other words, you want to pay yourself first. You want to pay your company first. So you have to be serious about saving for a rainy day by treating the emergency fund as a non-negotiable expense. You also want to be realistic, right? So you have to match your goals with the financial condition of your company. So if you're a small business, a startup, or even an established business, but you are in financial straits, you want to be able to set realistic goals for emergency fund savings. So you can't be saving as much as you could if you were in a better financial position. Because the thing here is that there is a reverse part of this, which is if you put too much away for a rainy day, this might put financial strain on your business. So you always want to set realistic goals. I always say, listen, you want to start early. You want to start early and gradually. You want to start very slow and gradually build up your emergency cash. Include emergency funds fully in your business plan. So if we want to elevate the seriousness of the topic of emergency fund, besides having a separate bank account, besides having the whole company be aware of it, besides running a competition whereby you are rewarding the biggest savers, you also want to include this in your business plan. That way you're basically telling anybody who's written this, whether they are investors or lenders or other stakeholders, you're telling them directly, listen, we mean business here. We are serious about this particular emergency fund for the business. All right. So putting such funds into an official business plan will mean you're more likely to stick to emergency fund objectives. And you want to only use the fund for emergencies. Folks, there is a reason why it's called emergency fund or rainy day fund. Right? This sounds obvious, but believe me, a lot of business owners throughout the country, they make that mistake of using the fund for everyday business. Right? The temptation is very clear, right? You're thinking, oh, I'll probably just use it, and then, as soon as I get the cash from my customer, I'll replace it or I'll put it back. No, doesn't work that way. So use it only for emergencies. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm very happy to have you today, and we're still talking about how to build an emergency fund for your small business, and I'm giving you a simple step-by-step. If you love this content, if you love how we're explaining things, how we just break things down in a very simple and concise manner, if you like this, consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done so, and turn on the notification bell so we are in touch with you whenever we release a new show. And please share and like this content. Comment below. Let us know your experience when it comes to building an emergency fund for your small business. By the way, before I forget, I just want to let you know that we also have we have covered a similar topics for individuals. So you might want to double check our budgeting, our personal finance videos. They are great. They've been very popular, and this can show you how to build an emergency fund for yourself or your family. Now let's come back to today's topic. You want to reduce outsourcing expenses. If your goal is to save some cash and create an emergency fund, you want to reduce outsourcing. Now, obviously, outsourcing has its pros and cons, and we have debated this topic also in the past. But you want to pay attention to the items the top outsourcing expense items, and those are the ones that you want to cut off. Right? So you want to reevaluate your outsourcing cost and see if there could be cutbacks you could make. People always think, well, I have folks in Asia or Africa, so I'm just going to outsource things for them, outsource this to them because it costs me less. But you have to have the clear math, the whole vision in front of you, and see what works. You have to look at the advantages and the disadvantages. You want to cut back on business trips. Now, some business trips are important and others are just, yeah, I do it if I want to. What I'm trying to say is that the business trips that are mandatory, that are relevant to your business, do them. But the others, just cut back. You also want to limit other business expenses, right? So when it comes to just reducing cost, business trips and outsourcing costs are not the only one. You want to think about where else are you being lavish at, right? You want to think about all the things that you do that are not really needed. I'm thinking, for instance, meals and entertainment, right? Are you having business lunch at a local restaurant, or are you just ordering in? Are you having dinner at a local restaurant, or are you having the Christmas party, the year-end party at a hotel, or are you doing it at the company's offices? Those are little areas you have to think about where saving really adds up. You want to resist impulsive buying. So impulse purchasing is a big thing, not just for individuals, also for companies, because companies, small businesses, most importantly, are bombarded every day, every week, day in, day out, week in, week out, by solicitations, right? Everybody wants to grab a piece of their wallet. So you need to resist the urge to spend money on a whim, because every dollar saved or not spent is a dollar into your emergency fund account. Another thing that you need to do is to foster a competitive climate. Now, I'm not talking about the savings competition I alluded to earlier. Here, I'm talking about having a workplace where competition is prized, especially when it comes to sales. The salespeople, they have to feel the urge to perform more, to grab more business, to increase revenue. The same thing have to be done with people in the back office or in the middle office. In other words, folks who are not salespeople, your admin people, from finance to accounting, to logistics to HR. You have to establish or foster rather a competitive environment where those folks are encouraged to reduce cost. They're encouraged to think about cost savings along the way. Next thing you want to do, use budgeting tools. If you want to keep on top of your business finances, including emergency funds, you can use budgeting and bookkeeping software, tools, and apps. We live in a world where now we have finance and accounting apps and tools everywhere, and some are even free. So you don't have to spend any. You just need to have the right accountant, and you can do your own stuff. You can find a way to grab a savings here and there, and you can actually manage your financial stability, your financial stability, your financial condition better. Another thing you can do is to generate extra cash. Right now, we're talking about creating and funding an emergency fund. Now, if you're not, you have two ways of doing this. You can save, you can cut costs, which is what I've been talking in this section so far, but you also need to think about boosting your sales, right? If you're struggling to find the money to put into an emergency fund, go that extra mile to generate additional cash. You can recruit another member of the sales team, or you can introduce an additional product. You can tap into a different clientele. So generating an additional business income will soon help the dollars mount up in your emergency fund. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are still having a conversation around how to build an emergency fund for your small business, a simple step-by-step. Next thing you want to do is to set a direct debit. If you're able to set a direct debit so you have money that automatically goes every month to that emergency fund, and ideally you want to, of course, the account has to be separate, has to be distinct from your normal business account, and then ideally you want to forget the PIN code for that emergency fund. That way you wouldn't be tempted to even spend money into it. And what you want to do is you just want to have a direct debit, so money goes every month into that account without even you touching it. One thing you also want to do is to put spare change into a savings tin or a piggy bank. Yes, a lot of small businesses have something called petty cash. Cash that is usually less than 100,000. Cash that is less than $1,000. That's called petty cash. In some companies, it's even less. It's like around 100,000. Why am I saying 100,000? No, the petty cash is usually less than 1,000. In some industries, it's even less. It's around $100. Now, if you go in your errands, you pay stuff, anytime you have change, you can put it in a piggy bank. Now, you might be saying this is like small change compared to the company's emergency fund, but remember, the bottom line is that every dollar counts, every penny counts. You never know. The last thing you know, you open that piggy bank at the end of the year, you have about $1,000 there, right? And everything counts. And $1,000 is a lot of money depending upon the size of your business. You always want to save. You always want to save, especially when the going is good. When the economy is rosy, when things are great, when you have fantastic sales, you want to save. You want to save for that rainy day that my grandmother always talks about, although my grandfather is so scared about, right? But once you have the cash, once you have the emergency fund, you wouldn't be scared about a rainy day anymore. And remember, rainy days always come and go. They always come and go. So saving is even more important if your business is seasonal or if your business is cyclical. So you're probably taking higher profit during particular time of the year. let's say around the holidays, around between October and December. So you want to take the opportunity to use the high profit months to put money into emergency funds. Another thing you want to do is to save all your tax refunds. Right? It's a great surprise, not only for companies, but also for individuals to have a tax refund arrive through your letterbox. However, the temptation to spend it is very high, and you have to resist that. You have to resist the urge to basically spend it, especially if it's a surprise, right? So you weren't expecting it, so you weren't expecting that money anyway. So it's even better to put it into an account, into your emergency fund. All right. So this is, folks. I just hope that the conversation was helpful to you. Just want to quickly wrap up today's conversation and give you a recap. So building an emergency fund for your small business, a simple step-by-step. I beg you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. We're trying to increase our follower base here on all our social media platforms, and subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. We also want you to share this content if you think it is valuable, and comment below and like. Here's a recap. Talk to your team and reward milestones and good behavior. Introduce a savings competition at work. Keep the funds separate. Consider the fund as a mandatory, non-negotiable expense. Be realistic. Include emergency funds fully in your business plan. Only use it for emergencies, right? It's called emergency fund for a reason. Reduce outsourcing expenses. Cut back on business trips. Limit other business expenses. Resist impulsive buying. Foster a competitive environment. Use budgeting tools. Generate extra cash. Set a direct debit. Put spare change into a savings tin. Work with your financial advisor. Put the fund somewhere if you can earn interest. Always save, and save all your tax returns. All right, folks. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Remember, stay marvelous.